What's next for green policy under Labour? And how will it affect buy-to-let landlords? That is the topic of today's show here on Property Answers. And I'm joined by Ranjan and John, the best in the industry. How are you today?
We are both very well. I think I can speak for my friend Ranjan.
Got the conversation ready to go?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Got your answers?
As always.
As always.
You have to on Property Answers.
You do indeed. And speaking of which, do like and subscribe to this video and click that bell as well to be notified of any of our videos. So let's start it off, shall we then? So how will it affect buy-to-let landlords?
For most landlords, when you hear the word green, they really mean energy performance certificate, EPCs. That's the thing most landlords are concerned about, because ideally they need to be C and above. And that is the challenge and the issues for many, many landlords. Ranjan.
Absolutely. I mean, we were all jumping around thinking we had to get to C grade. And Rishi actually sort of put that off, which was a good thing. Now, it's not that from a landlord's perspective, from a developer's point of perspective, we're not resisting this. Some of it makes common sense. But the problem with the EPC, it's a very arbitrary tick box type of thing that often when you drill down doesn't actually make much sense. They're trying to discourage gas boilers, but then electric heating carries negative points on their scoring. So there are all sorts of anomalies in there. And the other thing is, which seems remarkably unfair, is that if I have, and this has happened to me, I've developed properties and I've got 2013, 2014, we've developed properties and we've developed 8 flats in a block, say, and we've got EPCs grade C. And then someone comes around and retests them. The grading is not the same as it was, so you have to get them done every 10 years. So then you've got stuff to do. It just seems a little bit odd.
And a warning, if you're putting an electric wet system in, now we bear in mind most governments want you to go to electric from gas, but if you put a wet electric system in, so still got radiators, but it's an electric boiler, you can go from a C to an E. Now don't ask me why, I'm no expert in plumbing, but it's absolute madness. The whole thing is cockeyed. It needs to be re-looked at. Hopefully this new government will look at this and actually come up with something sensible. My worry is they're not going to do that, and they're just going to go whoosh. It's back on. Unless you've got a C, you can't let it out, and all this silly business.
I mean, most of these guys go on one of these EPC energy assessors course. It's half an afternoon, and then there's tea breaks and lunch in the middle of all of that. They get a piece of software, and it's all tick box and generates a score. So there are all sorts of ways of gerrymandering that and all the rest of it, but it's not really fit for purpose. But I think the issue for us landlords is that Labour's policy is that they want all homes in the UK to be EPC C in 10 years. They're calling it a warm homes plan or something like that. So it's
costing billions to do.
Costing billions to do, but the issue is who pays, and are there any grants available? Because there are certain houses which are either so old that they require tens of thousands of pounds to upgrade, or they are properties that are located up north where they're only worth 60k and it's not economically worthwhile. So what's going to happen to those properties where there may be grants for residential homeowners? I doubt whether Labour will be giving any grants to the private landlords. So I see more housing stock coming out of the rental supply market.
Well, I think that could happen. I recently did a conversion of 22 properties, and they made us put a air heat source pump out the front of each one, which looks like a big air conditioning unit, makes a lot of noise, costs double the amount it would do for a conventional gas boiler, and guess what? It's half as efficient. So it's just madness. The whole thing is madness. Total madness. And when you go onto the houses, so they're talking about making houses carbon neutral and all this silly business, zero from 2030, that's an even bigger challenge, because there's only a few houses being built in that way at the moment, and half the factories that build these type of houses went bankrupt last year in the UK because they couldn't get the quantity of properties built in that way.
Yeah.
All these different types of systems you hear about, some people are saying, oh well, my property, because it's zero carbon neutral, doesn't cost anything to run, is worth 20% more than it would normally be. What a load of rubbish that is. No, it's not. You get a valuer who's going to value it at 20% more, and I'll donate some money to charity. Because I'm telling you, it will not happen. The market is the market, and no one's going to put 20% on top just because, or pay 20% on top just because they think you've done something good for the environment. It's not going to happen.
I think the issue is going to be who's going to pay for this, and landlords. And if landlords are punished, then I would advise people, I think it's going to happen. And I think you've got to be very careful of the types of properties you're buying. Older stock, low value areas, I probably wouldn't do. Older stock, higher value areas, I would probably want a lot of those works to have already been done. So look for, forward plan. You know, and there's another problem issue actually at the moment is that on the flat conversions we're doing at the moment, building regulations doesn't require you to have EPC-C. You don't need an EPC-C to produce a converted flat. So if you're doing that sort of thing, don't go for the minimum. Just make sure you forward plan and make sure you anticipate that it is C. So all the flats we're building out, they're EPC-C, even though building regulations don't require us to. So forward plan. You do it all when you're converting them.
It's much cheaper that way than afterwards, I can tell you. Now, interestingly, I got offered 10 houses in the northeast the other week for 50,000 each. I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. The northeast is up. It's near Scotland, Ranjan. Anyway, and 50,000 each. I said, what's the rent? £350 a month each, the rent. Oh, it's a bit low, isn't it? And they went, no, it's about right for this area. Now, how on earth are the landlord of those properties ever going to afford to make it EPC-C or above? It's just never going to happen. They'll spend more than they're worth. It's just madness. It's just not going to happen.
I mean, I don't want to go all tinfoil hat here and conspiracy theory, but there is all this World Economic Forum, and you'll be happy owning nothing and all the rest of it. And there is this...
You won't be.
No, I won't. But there
all the holidays you take.
There is this conspiracy theory, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's the direction of travel here. But there is this conspiracy theory that this could be a move to basically take. If you believe in that conspiracy theory, it's a way of taking properties off you by saying that they are not habitable because they are not.
I actually think you need a checkup from the neck up.
I was going to say, let's ask the viewers.
That sounds a little bit odd.
It is very. When EPCs came in, when they first came in, you just had to have one.
Yes.
And that was it. And then mortgage companies wouldn't give you a mortgage unless they were a minimum V. Yeah. So some people just got an EPC because you had to have one.
Yes.
And the guy came round and just gave them an EPC. But it wasn't necessarily E. So you get a mortgage value around, they would actually value the property at zero. And this actually happened to me. I couldn't believe how a valuer in the right mind can put zero, because the property has a land value. And it has how can it be valued zero?
Zero.
It's just impossible.
It's mad.
So the system can be massaged in that way. I don't know. Do you think I'm being conspiracy theorist?
Let's put that in the comments, actually. Let us know what you think about Ranjan's comment.
I think there'll be an avalanche. There'll be an avalanche of the 70-odd thousand YouTube followers who are going to say Ranjan's a nutter. Hopefully.
No, we just got good ideas.
Because that'll be funny. That'll be great. There is a serious point to all this, though, isn't there? Yes. And the serious point is, for many landlords, they've already decided they're going to get out because of what's happened under the Conservative government, never mind a Labour government. And I think pushing back on EPC-Cs and above and all the rest of it is really seriously bad news for many, many landlords. And in the end, less rental stock that they'll want more rent for because of the repairs they've had to do. Potentially the tenants have had to move out while the repairs are being done as well. I mean, they haven't thought it through. They really, really haven't thought it through.
Yeah. maybe some of our viewers are wondering then, Ranjan, when it was valued at 0, what do you do? What do you do?
You need to get an EPC assessor in, get the EPC up to E, and then get it revalued.
Then get it revalued again.
Now, what else you've got to remember though, for every person who has a problem, it's good news for someone else.
That's very
true. And although I have been accused at times of being a bit of a vulture, I am at the moment negotiating with 1 or 2 housing associations because guess what?
What?
They've got lots of property which they can't get up to C because it will cost too much for them to do so. So, you know, there's there's opportunities. There's opportunities around this. Certainly, if you're on the ball, for everybody there's a problem. There's a problem. For someone else, there's a solution. There's money to be made. So don't feel too downbeat. And if anybody wishes to sell their buy-to-let very cheap because there's an EPC, there's 2 people here who probably will take advantage.
Well, I agree and disagree. I mean,
of course, you wouldn't do anything like that, Ranjan,
I don't consider myself a vulture investor. I consider myself more of an eagle.
Interesting.
I have an eagle eye for the opportunity, and I'll swoop in and pounce on it. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
So the message for viewers is really grab the opportunity while you can, or sell to you.
I just think you need to anticipate the issue, and if you're getting the property vacant, if it's coming in vacant anyway, it's a good time to do the work rather than leave it, and then have to do it with the tenants in situ or get them out at the time. So if it's not a C, you might as well bite the bullet and get it done.
Just get it done.
Yeah.
Great advice.
And it'll be interesting to know whether that would be a ground for getting back possession of your property. Need to upgrade the EPC.
Very, very interesting point. Absolutely. Under the new laws
There we
which
go.
are coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I hope that answered the question here for you on Property Answers. And don't forget as well, if you have any questions for John and Ranjan, you can comment below as well. Lots more videos still to come your way on Property Answers.